Do you feel related to any Australian band, any other Australian band?
No. Well, we would never feel related to anything from any country. Because that's just not what music's about. Music's an international thing. You know, borders are created by men who didn't know anything about music.
Peter Marty just told me that there isn't a thing like Australian music. Is there Australian culture?
Yeah, every country's got its culture. I realised there's an Australian culture when I grew up. There was a resistance to cultures from other countries. Like if someone came from another country, it was sort of there was a resistance to accepting it, and I think that's important. You know, it's something to do with a country having its own identity, and I think the difference in Australian culture to anywhere else, and it is a mixture of lots of things. Like we get English TV, American TV, and films, and records, and radio, and all the rest of it. The difference is basically that it's a much more casual sort of country. There's a lot of space, so people don't seem to infringe on one another very much. Very casual.
How close is it to the American culture?
Very close, except not as materialistic. But Australians are more ambitious to be lazy in their old age, I think, rather than be necessarily as rich as what Americans might want to be.
You originally come from a Dutch background.
That's right.
Did you take something from this Dutch background?
I didn't really, apart from what might have been like a European background a little bit at home.
He used to wear clogs on stage.
No, I came back to Europe actually because I missed something, and I think when I came back to Europe that I discovered a lot more about my culture that seemed strange in my, home in Australia, being a European. So I've taken more since I've been here.
You, Richard, come from a Dutch background as well.
That's right.
What does that mean to you?
Well, it's a bit different for me because I come from a Dutch Indonesian background, so I've experienced the mix. Just from the same thing as Peter, that I had a European upbringing, so I was a bit more in tune with a European mentality than, say, a full cast Australian would. So yeah, there's a definite European influence in growing up.
I try to put you in an order. Okay. I put you beside the Triffids, Midnight Oil, and Mental as Anything. Is that the kind of circuit? Is that the circuit where you play?
Well, that's kind of funny, I reckon.
Yeah,
because
right.
No, it isn't.
No?
It's Midnight Oil.
Is it not?
Midnight Oil playing the biggest venues in the country, and the Triffids. The Church Triffids and Mental as Anything are kind of on a slightly lower.
Midnight Oil, one of the biggest bands in Australia.
But those three bands are
But
completely
still
different
crossover.
levels to each other. I mean, the Triffids are, they can sort of do well in an inner city venue because they're that kind of group. But in the suburbs, they don't do well at all. Mental as Anything have this kind of consistent pub circuit level in the suburbs and in the city. And Midnight Oil are huge. So there's those three bands you chose are completely different levels.